The stars were cold and empty, just as they had always been. Captain Cora stared out of the main window of her ship, the stellar dawn. Beyond the thick glass, space stretched like a black ocean, scattered with tiny lights. She had been looking at the same view for 20 years, and it had never changed. Always the same empty darkness, she murmured. "Captain, we're approaching the Sol system," said Tom, her navigation officer. He was young for his species, a Bix, with bright, blue skin and large eyes that could see farther into space than most instruments. "Should we begin the standard survey?" Cora nodded. "Yes. Start scanning all the planets. Look for minerals, gases, anything useful." She glanced around the bridge. "And keep watching for signs of life, even if we know we won't find any." The stellar dawn was home to 15 crew members from various species, all part of the Helix Coalition, a union of 7 alien civilizations that had traveled the stars together for over 1,000 years. They were explorers, scientists, and dreamers, intent on mapping every corner of the galaxy. But in all that time, they had never found another intelligent species. The galaxy, vast and filled with billions of stars and planets, seemed to offer only one intelligent coalition: them. Dr. Vale sat at her science station, analyzing sensor data. She was the ship's leading expert on alien life, though she had never found any. Her job was to hunt for civilization-level signals, radio, waves, unusual energy patterns, anything artificial. "The same as always," she muttered to herself. "Nothing but rocks and gas." Vale was a Gren, with gray skin and 4 arms, making her exceptionally efficient with multiple computers. She had dedicated her life to proving that intelligent life existed beyond the Coalition. Each day she processed thousands of signals, always just natural star and planet sounds. "Doctor, anything interesting?" Cora asked. "No, Captain. Just the usual background radiation. A few solar flares from the local star," Vale replied, her voice heavy with disappointment. The Coalition species were varied: the tall, silver-skinned Tau like Cora, the wide-eyed blue Bix like Tom, the 4-armed Gren like Vale, the tree-like Vor, the furry Keed, the aquatic Nell, and the tiny, flying Zill. Long ago, they had met and chosen cooperation over war, sharing knowledge and ships. Together, they had built a peaceful civilization across hundreds of star systems. But they had one problem. They were alone. "It doesn't make sense," Vale said, turning to her assistant, a young Bix named Rye. "The galaxy is so big with so many planets that could support life. Maybe we're just looking in the wrong places," Rye offered as he sorted sensor data. "We've looked everywhere. For 1,000 years," Vale replied. "Over 50,000 star systems visited. Plenty of simple life. Plants, animals, even smart ones like dolphins and elephants. But nothing that builds cities, nothing that speaks. Exploration and science, not war, were the Coalition's focus. They had no standing army. Why would they need one?" "Captain," Nix called from the communication station. "Unusual readings from the 3rd planet in this system." Nix was a Keed, with soft brown fur and sensitive ears. The best comms officer in the fleet. Cora walked over. "What kind of readings?" "They look organized, not natural. Actual signals, with patterns and structure." The bridge fell silent. "Are you sure?" asked Vale, rapidly analyzing data with all 4 hands. "Running confirmation now," said Nix, his ears twitching. "It's primitive compared to us, but definitely artificial. Someone is broadcasting." Vale's screens lit up, waveforms with unmistakable structure. Not cosmic noise. "Messages." "This is impossible," Tom whispered. Cora felt her heart pounding. In 1,000 years, this was the moment they'd all dreamed of. "First contact," she whispered. "How advanced are they?" she asked. Vale studied the patterns. Early tech, maybe where we were 2,000 years ago. Radio, maybe basic space travel, but nowhere near interstellar. What do we do? Rye asked. The Coalition had protocols for this, but they had never expected to use them. First, we observe, Cora ordered. Move to a safe distance, long-range scans. I want to know everything. Technology, biology, society. Should we alert Coalition Command? Tom asked. Not yet. We gather intel first. This is too important. As the stellar dawn adjusted its course, sensors revealed more details. The planet was blue and green, with oxygen and nitrogen, perfect for life. Multiple energy sources, Vale reported. Cities, industries, even primitive spacecraft in orbit. On the main screen, the planet appeared, oceans, continents, and clouds. On the dark side, tiny lights glittered like stars. Cities. They call their planet Earth, said Nix, who had been translating broadcasts. And themselves, humans. Dr. Vale trembled with excitement. After decades of searching, intelligent life. At last. But as she delved deeper into their signals, her joy turned to concern. Captain, she said slowly, we need to be careful. Their history is filled with conflict, wars, violence, division. They're constantly fighting each other. Cora looked down at the peaceful-looking world. It was hard to believe it housed such a brutal species. We'll observe from afar, she decided. Set up a hidden base in the asteroid belt. We watch, we learn. As the stellar dawn slipped into hiding, no one on board could imagine what was watching them. Far beyond the stars, ancient machines stirred. The humans were not the only ones discovered that day. Something else, old, patient, and merciless, had detected the stellar dawn. It had waited for civilizations to bloom. Now it would harvest. Sometimes being alone was safer than being found. Marcus stared in disbelief at the vessel hovering before him, bristling with technology unlike anything he'd ever seen. A soft blue beam enveloped his ship, gently pulling it toward the strange craft. He reached for his radio. This is astronaut Marcus Reed calling Earth. Do you read me? Nothing. The signal was jammed. He switched frequencies. Unknown ship. This is astronaut Marcus Reed. Please identify yourself. To his shock, a voice replied in flawless English, though touched, with an accent he couldn't place. Human Marcus Reed, you are in danger. We are bringing you aboard to save your life. Please do not be afraid. The next moments felt surreal. Marcus's capsule was drawn into a cargo bay impossibly vast for its external size. A shimmering field maintained breathable air inside. When the bay doors sealed, Marcus opened his hatch and stepped onto the alien ship. Waiting for him was a figure, clearly not human. Yet her posture was non-threatening. She seemed nervous. I am Dr. Vale, she said. I am Gren, part of the Helix Coalition. We've been observing your planet. Marcus looked her up and down, tall, slender, with 4 arms and silver-blue skin. You're not human, he said simply. No, I'm not. But I've studied your species. He scanned the room's glowing walls and hovering consoles. How long have you been watching us? Only a few weeks, since we first detected your broadcasts. Marcus frowned. Why pull me in now? Vale hesitated. Because my people are afraid of yours. Human history is filled with conflict. We are peaceful explorers, and the Coalition believes humans are too dangerous to contact. Marcus absorbed this. And yet, you saved me. Yes, she said softly. Because I believe there's more to humanity than just violence. I've studied your art, your science, your kindness. You're capable of more. Then a stern voice crackled over the ship's comm system. Dr. Vale, return to base immediately. You have violated orders. Vale looked apologetic. My captain is angry. I must return you to Earth orbit. As they flew, Marcus bombarded her with questions. Coalition structure, interstellar travel, alien biology. Vale was impressed by his rapid understanding. "Your species learns fast," she remarked. "We have to," he replied. "On Earth, if you don't adapt, you die. That's probably why we seem violent. We've had to fight to survive." When they reached orbit, Vale prepared to return him to his now repaired ship, but Marcus turned serious. "Dr. Vale, I need to ask, are there other species out there? Other threats?" Vale hesitated. Coalition law forbade such disclosures, but something in his eyes made her answer. "The galaxy is vast, Marcus Reed. We've explored much, but not all. There are unknown regions." Marcus nodded. "If something dangerous comes to Earth, will your people help?" Vale's voice lowered. "I don't know, but I hope so." As Marcus descended back to Earth and Vale returned to her station, neither could know that far beyond the stars, ancient sensors had detected their presence. Something old and hungry had awakened. At the edge of the galaxy, where starlight gave way to blackness, the warning came. Captain Cora, reviewing Vale's report, was interrupted by a transmission, short, frantic, and terrifying. "Unknown fleet approaching. Massive energy signatures. Request immediate assistance." Then silence. "Set. Course for the outer rim," Cora ordered. "Maximum speed!" The stellar dawn jumped to hyperspace, but they were too late. Where once stood a thriving research outpost, there was only wreckage, burned metal, and floating debris. "Captain," said Nix, fur bristling, "I'm picking up a transmission. Not Coalition code." The main screen flared to life. The crew gasped. The figure was massive, armored in dark metal, face hidden behind a red-lit mask. Its voice was cold and mechanical. "People of this galaxy, you have lived in ignorance for too long. We are the Dominion. We have returned to claim what is ours. Submit within one standard cycle, or face extinction. This is your only warning." Images followed. Vast warships that blotted out stars. Their hulls devoured light, and their weapons were capable of erasing worlds. The screen went dark. Cora whispered, "How? We've mapped the whole galaxy." Vale's voice trembled. "The void between galaxies. They were hiding there." Within hours, more worlds went silent. The Dominion fleet struck like a plague, fast, brutal, relentless. Admiral Rex convened an emergency meeting. His face, broadcast across the Coalition fleet, looked pale and worn. "The situation is worse than feared. They have thousands of ships, each more powerful than anything we've ever built. Their weapons defy our science." Captain Cora asked, "What about our defense forces?" Rex shook his head. "We have 200 patrol ships spread across 700 systems. They have 3,000 warships, every one a fortress." Vale stared at the tactical map. Red lights, Dominion ships, spread like infection. One world fell, then another. "How long until they reach the core systems?" Tom asked. 2 weeks. We're evacuating civilians, but there's nowhere to hide." At a hidden base near Earth, Marcus Reed watched the desperate broadcasts. He turned to Vale during one of their secret communications. "You're fighting the wrong kind of war," she blinked. "What do you mean?" "You're treating this like a military standoff, but they're not fighting a war. They're hunting, and you're their prey." Marcus, a former Marine, saw what the Coalition couldn't. He studied their battle data. See how they strike? They hit command centers and infrastructure first. Cut off the head, the body dies. But they're making mistakes, too. Vale leaned in. "What kind?" "They're overconfident. They expect you to fight by the rules. But what if you didn't?" Vale looked puzzled. "What other way is there?" Marcus smiled grimly. "Fight like humans." Meanwhile, aboard the Dominion's flagship Death's Edge, Lord Kane watched the conquest unfold with cold satisfaction. "Another galaxy. Another victory." "Status," he barked. A cyborg officer stepped forward. 17 more systems have surrendered. Resistance is minimal. Kane grunted. Just as expected. Soft civilizations always forget how to survive. They worship art and knowledge but lose the will to fight. What about their weapons? He asked. Primitive, said the officer. Their shields barely function. Most ships are exploration vessels, not warcraft. Tactics are laughable. They group in large formations, easy targets. Kane's glowing eyes narrowed. Peace makes sheep. Sheep are for harvesting. Continue the advance. Target their industrial centers. Once we own production, the rest will fall. But as the Dominion pressed forward, something changed. Coalition ships began fighting differently. Smaller groups, unpredictable raids, sabotage, disruption of supplies. Kane's intelligence officer reported, enemy behavior shifting. Some are abandoning standard tactics. Explain, Kane ordered. They're using surprise attacks, sabotage, even suicide runs against our larger ships. It's crude but effective. We've lost 3 cruisers to these new tactics. Lord Kane frowned. This was unexpected. In his experience, once a species became civilized, they lost the savage instincts needed for irregular warfare. But some coalition forces were starting to fight like primitives, unpredictable, ruthless, willing to sacrifice themselves for small victories. Where are these new tactics coming from unknown, sir? The attack seemed to be coordinated, but we can't track the source of the commands. What Lord Kane didn't know was that Marcus Reed was secretly transmitting tactical advice to coalition forces throughout the galaxy using the communication systems on Dr. Vale's ship. He was teaching alien commanders how to think like human guerrilla fighters. Don't fight their strength, he told Captain Cora during one encrypted transmission. Hit them where they're weak. Destroy their supply ships, attack their communication arrays, make them afraid to spread out their forces. Captain Cora was skeptical at first. These tactics seem dishonorable. Honor won't save your people, Marcus replied bluntly. The Dominion isn't interested in fair fights, they want to wipe you out. Sometimes you have to fight dirty to survive, Doctor. Vale watched as coalition forces slowly began to adopt human-style warfare. It went against everything their peaceful culture had taught them, but it was working. Dominion losses were mounting, and their advance was slowing. But even with these new tactics, the coalition was still losing. The enemy simply had too many ships, too much firepower. They needed something more, something the Dominion would never expect. Marcus said Dr. Vale during one of their planning sessions, "What would your people do if Earth was attacked by such a force?" Marcus was quiet for a long moment, staring out at the stars. "We'd fight with everything we had. Every man, woman, and child would become a soldier. We'd use every weapon we could build, steal or improvise. And if we couldn't win," he turned to look at her, "we'd make sure the enemy paid such a high price that they'd never want to fight humans again." Dr. Vale felt a chill run through her body. She was beginning to understand why her people were afraid of humans. They weren't just violent. They were willing to do anything to survive. "Would Earth help us fight the Dominion?" asked Marcus, considered this carefully. "Maybe. But first you'd have to officially ask for help, and you'd have to be prepared for what that means." "What? Does it mean your peaceful galaxy is about to learn how humans really fight?" The message that changed everything arrived on Earth at exactly 3:47 a.m. Greenwich. Marcus Reed sat in the secret communication room he had built in his garage, talking to Dr. Vale through encrypted channels. The coalition was losing badly. 3 more worlds had fallen just that day, and the Dominion fleet was only 5 days away from the core systems. "Marcus," Dr. Vale said, her forearms moving frantically across her controls, "we need to make an official request. Captain Cora has convinced Admiral Rex that we need Earth's help." Marcus took a deep breath. This was the moment he had been preparing for. "Are you sure about this? Once I send this message, everything changes. Your people won't be able to pretend humans don't exist anymore. We're going to die anyway if we do nothing." At least this gives us a chance. Marcus activated his transmitter and sent a coded message to every major government on Earth. The message was simple but shocking. This is Marcus Reed, astronaut. Alien invasion. Coming, need immediate response from all world leaders. This is not a drill. Within 30 minutes, his phone was ringing. Within an hour, military helicopters were landing in his backyard. Within 6 hours, he was sitting in a secure bunker beneath the Pentagon, facing the most powerful leaders on. Earth General Lisa Torres, head of the U.S. Space Command, stared at the proof Marcus had provided video recordings of coalition ships' tactical data about the Dominion fleet and star charts showing the invasion route. "So let me understand this correctly," she said in her calm, professional voice. "There's a galactic government of peaceful aliens, and they're being wiped out by space conquerors who are heading toward Earth next." "That's correct, General. And these friendly aliens want our help to fight off the bad guys." "Yes, ma'am." General Torres looked around the room at the other military leaders. Gentlemen, ladies, we're looking at either the biggest hoax in history or the most important moment in human civilization. The President of the United States leaned forward. "Assuming this is real, what are we dealing with? How much time do we have?" Marcus activated the holographic display Dr. Vale had given him. Images of Dominion warships filled the room, their dark holes bristling with weapons that could crack planets. The enemy fleet has about 3,000 ships. Each one is roughly the size of a city and armed with weapons that make our nuclear missiles look like firecrackers. They'll reach coalition space in 4 days, and if they win there, Earth is next. The room fell silent as world leaders absorbed this information. "What about our new alien friends?" asked the British Prime Minister. "What can they contribute to the fight? The coalition has better technology than us. In some areas, faster ships, better shields advanced. Communications, but they have almost no military experience. They've been peaceful for over 1,000 years. General Torres smiled grimly. "While we've been fighting wars for our entire existence." "Exactly. They're like a university professor trying to fight a gang of street thugs, smart, but completely unprepared for real violence." Within hours, a decision was made that would have seemed impossible just days before. Every nation on Earth began mobilizing for interstellar war. Old enemies became instant allies as humanity faced the possibility of extinction. The response was swift and terrifying in its efficiency. China began retrofitting their nuclear arsenal with coalition shield technology that Marcus provided. Russia started mass-producing modified spacecraft. Using hybrid human-alien designs, the United States recalled every soldier, sailor, and pilot from around the world. But it was more than just the military response that impressed Dr. Vale as she watched from her hidden base. It was how quickly human society transformed itself. Factories that made cars began producing spacecraft. Scientists who studied medicine started designing weapons. Even children were learning basic military skills. In schools, just in case the adults failed to protect them. "I don't understand," Dr. Vale told Marcus during one of their conversations. "How is your species doing this so fast it would take the coalition years to organize such a response?" Marcus looked out at the Earth below, where lights burned in every city, as humans worked around the clock to prepare for war. "Because we've always known this day might come," he said simply. "Every human grows up understanding that someday, someone might try to destroy us. We've been preparing for this fight our whole lives, even if we didn't know it would come from space." General Torres took command of the Unified Earth Defense Force, coordinating with coalition officers who had been secretly brought to Earth. She was amazed by the aliens' advanced technology, but horrified by their complete lack of military thinking. "Captain Cora," she said during a strategy meeting, "your people have ships that can travel faster than light shields, that can stop nuclear weapons and sensors, that can see across star systems. How did you lose so badly to the Dominion?" Captain Cora looked embarrassed. "We wet-tried to negotiate first. We thought if we explained that we were peaceful, they would leave us alone. You tried to negotiate with an invasion force?" Yes, we sent diplomatic messages and offered to share our scientific knowledge in exchange for peace. General Torres rubbed her forehead. Captain Rule number 1. Of warfare. When someone attacks you, they're not interested in talking. They want you dead or enslaved. Everything else is just a distraction. The cultural differences were shocking. Coalition officers wanted to minimize casualties and avoid damaging enemy ships. If possible, human commanders wanted to kill as many. You're thinking like this is a police operation, General Torres told the coalition captains gathered around the holographic table. But this is war. The goal isn't to arrest the enemy or teach them a lesson. The goal is to erase them. Dr. Vale sat at the edge of the room, silent but wide-eyed. She watched with a growing mixture of awe and fear. Humans didn't approach war like other species. They attacked it like a problem to be solved, methodically, creatively, and with no sentimental attachment to tradition. What if we used their weapons against them? Asked Colonel James Park, a human tactical advisor. Dominion ships operate in linked formations. If we can breach their network, impossible, a coalition technician cut in. Their cybersecurity is beyond anything you've encountered. Maybe, said Dr. Sarah Kim, a human cyber warfare expert. But you're thinking like people who follow rules. Hackers don't. As Earth transformed, something astonishing began. Coalition ships began arriving not to protect Earth, but to seek its protection. What they found was no longer a primitive world, but a fortress. Orbital defense platforms were being assembled at an astonishing pace. Human engineers had deciphered coalition shield systems and figured out how to mass-produce them. The space around Earth teemed with activity as humans and coalition refugees built their last stand. On the viewing deck of a human space station, young coalition navigator Tom stared at the moon. They've built weapons on it, enough to destroy entire fleets, he whispered. How did they do it so fast? He asked Dr. Vale. Because they never stopped preparing for war, she replied. While we studied and explored, they fought and adapted. Every piece of human tech can be weaponized. Factories on Earth ran day and night, but it wasn't just weapons rolling off the lines. Human minds found ways to fuse coalition science with their brutal ingenuity. Check this out, Marcus Reed told Dr. Vale, pointing to a sleek new fighter craft. We mounted your shields on our fastest jets. Now they can fly inside enemy formations and strike from within. That's suicide for the pilots, Vale said, aghast. Marcus only smiled. We have volunteers. Some of our best are lining up for one-way missions. That chill hit Dr. Vale again. Humanity wasn't just fighting to survive. They fought like a species possessed. When the Dominion fleet reached the edge of the solar system, Lord Kane was puzzled. Earth wasn't cowering, it was bristling with defenses. How many ships does this species have? He demanded. Unknown, sir, his officer answered. Thousands of energy signatures. Most don't match known designs. Their tech is, hybrid. Some weapons are nuclear, others use coalition shielding. It's a mess. Kane narrowed his eyes at the tactical display. He'd never seen anything like it. 1 week, and a backwater world had become a citadel. Sir, said his comms officer, incoming transmission from the planet. On screen appeared a pale-skinned female, eyes cold and defiant. I am General Lisa Torres of the Earth Defense Force. You've attacked our allies and threatened our world. Surrender now or face the consequences. Lord Kane laughed. One primitive world dares threaten the Dominion? You'll be ashes by nightfall. Torres smiled. It wasn't kind. It was a predator's grin. We'll see, she said, and cut the signal. At dawn on Tuesday, the Battle of Saul began. The Dominion fleet dropped out of hyperspace, expecting fear and surrender. They found hell instead. From the asteroid belt, hundreds of rocks came alive, each one a hidden missile silo, bristling with coalition targeting arrays. Marcus Reed and Dr. Vale watched from their concealed command post. "Contact!" shouted Tom as Dominion cruisers exploded in unison. 12 direct hits! On his flagship, Lord Kane gawked. "They turned asteroids into weapon platforms?" "Yes, sir," his officer replied. "We scanned them. Solid rock. But they're firing." Then came Phase 2, from Earth's moon. Lunar-based railguns hurled metal slugs at near light speed, punching through Dominion shields like butter. "Impossible," Kane's tactician muttered. "Kinetic rounds with energy shielding? That combo shouldn't work." But it did, because humans didn't care about theoretical limits, only about results. Deep beneath Earth's crust, Torres coordinated the battle. Screens displayed carnage across the system. "Phase 1 complete," said Colonel Park. "Enemy formation disrupted." "Good," Torres said. "Begin Phase 2. Show them what happens when you threaten Earth." Thousands of human fighters streaked into space. Each was a hybrid creation. Alien shields, human recklessness. Jake "Reaper" Morgan led the charge. Reaper 1 to all wings. No mercy, no quarter. "We don't fight fair, we end them." The Dominion watched in horror as these tiny craft smashed into cruisers at close range. Nuclear payloads went off inside shield bubbles. Fighters rammed enemy hulls with suicidal precision. "They're insane," Kane whispered. "They're killing themselves to kill us," his officer nodded grimly. "And it's working." Still, the humans weren't done. Back on Earth, Dr. Kim and her team had breached the Dominion's quantum-linked networks. "We're in," Kim told Torres. "We can hijack their fire control systems." "Do it." Moments later, Dominion ships turned on each other, their AIs convinced they were under friendly fire. Shields collapsed. Chaos reigned. "Our weapons are malfunctioning," Kane shouted. "No, sir," his tech replied. "The humans are using them against us. They're spoofing credentials. The systems think they belong there." As Dominion cruisers shredded themselves, Kane finally understood. He hadn't invaded a world of primitives. He'd awakened predators. "Sir," said the comms officer, "another message from Earth." General Torres appeared again, backed by monitors showing the burning Dominion fleet. "You underestimated us, Kane," she said. "But every war we've fought, every weapon we've built, every tactic we've learned, it was all rehearsal for this day." Kane growled. "You may have won today, but the Dominion has thousands of fleets. We will return." Torres didn't blink. "No, you won't," she said, "because we're not just going to win, we're going to end you." The final phase began with Marcus Reed leading a joint boarding squad onto Kane's flagship. Humans and coalition warriors stormed the decks. "Remember," Marcus said, "these bastards think they're superior. Let's show them what happens when they meet humans." The Dominion guards expected honor. They got ambushes, dirty tricks, and relentless violence. In minutes, Marcus stood on the command bridge facing Kane. "You don't understand," Kane snarled. "We rule 100 galaxies. You can't stop us all." Marcus raised his weapon. "Maybe not, but we'll make you think twice about coming near ours." With Kane's capture, the remaining Dominion ships fled. The legend of Earth spread like wildfire, of a race that fought like demons and thought like gods. Later, Marcus stood on the deck of the Stellar Dawn, watching stars that now looked more like opportunities than threats. Dr. Vale joined him, tapping her computer. "Our coalition lost fewer ships in this battle than in the entire war before you joined," Marcus nodded. "That's because you weren't really fighting before, just trying not to lose. And you? We were trying to win." Captain Cora approached with a data pad. "The Council has decided. Earth will receive full coalition membership, equal rights, full tech access." "And in return," Marcus asked, "you share your combat expertise. Help us rebuild. Peace only works if good people are willing to fight." Vale added, "There's more. The Council wants a new organization, Joint Military Command, Coalition Tech, Human Tactics. It's called the Galactic Defense Alliance, and they want you to lead it." Marcus turned toward the stars, their light reflecting in his eyes. "All right," he said. "Let's get to work. The galaxy just got a lot smaller. We need to be ready." The age of human isolation had ended. The age of human-led protection had begun, and far beyond the rim of known space, ancient forces stirred, drawn by the signal of a world that refused to surrender.